Time for RPG Digest Segment 1, where we continue on talking about Battlelords of the 23rd century. Now, I took some flack over how long those videos were talking about the races. Well, you know what? Too bad. We're kind of doing a book read here. Maybe we did spend a little time, but this is a live stream. This is a discussion. If you want concise, go buy the book and read it on your own. There you go. I've said my piece. Today, we are going to talk about whatever I decide to share for my screen here. Share screen.
Character generation.
What's that?
Better be character generation.
Well, before that, it is going to be the errata. Because there's going to be a couple little things here. When we talk about encumbrance on page 83, the abbreviation is wrong, and it's been updated here. I was just growing up. This is a chart. We want to change results 31 to 33. So when Heathen Dog rolls 31 to 33, we have to change it, change the mini sphere KSAT with decoy drone.
Okay.
And when he rolls the 46 to 48 on the soldier mercenary occupation table, because he's not going to do a matrix controller, right? Yeah, right. Replace white count injection with viral infection spectrum.
I don't like any of that.
I know that's viral infection spectrum. So I get a whole spectrum of viruses.
A whole spectrum of viral infections. Jesus, man.
I know, right?
Did I just say, screw the prophylactic and go across the world or worlds, visiting every low class brothel I could find?
Yes.
That at least sounds like fun, actually.
You didn't convince me this is bad yet. I mean, I'm sorry, honey. He is such a horrible. But we are talking about Battlelords of the 23rd century with their little
page 75.
Look at you. Fine. I'll just skip right to it. 75 there probably isn't 75. Oh, look, it is. Wow. Oh, you said PDF page. Look at that. All right, let's F11 this bad boy. And you apparently actually read through this, right?
I did. Okay.
I read through it a couple of weeks ago. I've summarily forgotten all of it. So I'll start and then you correct me where I'm stupid.
Okay.
I say we're going to talk about character creation. So right off the bat, the first thing you do, just like in most games, is you figure out your vital statistics. And how do we do that? I don't know.
Well, hang on. There is a tip in red.
There's a tip in red. Roll on the character development tables before you fill in all the info for your vital statistics. These tables may change your stats, and who wants to do things twice? So I guess what they're saying is roll your stats, but just keep them in a little mush on the side, and then once you figure out what you want to do, then put them in order. Yeah, okay. I mean that's like rolling 3d6 apply to taste, except for this is going to be roll percentile dice apply to taste. Actually, no, it's not. But we'll get to that. Depends on how you want to do it. Now, there's a point-based method. I know I'm starting with number 3, but that's because I see it right there. I don't like point-based method. I know I get a lot.
As a general rule, you do not like that.
I get a lot of flack for that.
Players love it. Players love it because they can min-max better.
They also like it because it's balanced. I don't give a rat's ass about balance.
I have never seen someone do a point-based method that was fully balanced. I've never seen it. They always find a dump stat.
Right, but what they say is it's balanced between the characters in the group. Now, you know that every single person has 100 points, however they want to spread it around or whatever. But I don't believe in that. I literally don't believe in that. Between me and Heathen Dog, one of us is stronger, one of us is faster, one of us is smarter, one of us is wiser, one of us is better looking, one of us is, whatever, but we're not equal. And even if you were to balance it all in between, there's nothing to say that Heathen Dog couldn't have 15 points better than me all told across the board. Or I more probably have 50 points better than him across the board.
Unlikely, but I get your point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point-based method, I wouldn't use it either.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it either because methods 1 and 2 are just, in my opinion, just fundamentally better.
Okay, so explain to us method 1, give and take.
Give and take. Okay, this one where all your stats start at 60 and you take away from some, give to another. You can do this 10 times. You can only take away 5 points at one time. So you can take away a total of 50 points and put them somewhere else. Now, if you take away from the same stat, you're going to have a stat of 10, but that's completely doable. You can have a stat of 10. It's a dump stat. This is why, in my opinion, this is the second of the third ones in order of I like. This is number 2. All right, because it still gives the player the ability to choose their own dump stat.
Fair. Okay.
Stats, which I do not like. Now, the best one, best of 10. This is now, if you were going just down the line, percentile down the line, all 8 stats, even if you can move them around if you want, it wouldn't sit well with a lot of player characters. It wouldn't sit well with
I don't care.
Even me, really. But giving you 10 rolls and dump the lowest 2 means that you are on average going to have between 53 and 57 if you average up all your stats.
So here's the only reason I accept that argument in this game. And that is because this game, you are supposed to be a Battlelord. You're not a common grunt. You might start that way, but you're not generically a common grunt. You're supposed to be, if not heroic, capable of doing heroic actions at an earlier point. I don't like using this term because I use it as pejorative, but it's kind of like more of a power sci-fi, power fantasy type thing.
Right.
So in that regard, I get it. It's just against my nature because I'm like, I like low stats, not incredibly low across the board, but I like having low stats because I think they help a character be well-rounded. I'm good at this, not so good at that.
Yeah, and I want to tell you, no matter what you get, there is help for you later on. There are some skills that improve stats.
Well, even in this paragraph, there's help.
Game masters may opt to allow a player to re-roll their character if they have less than 2 unadjusted rolls above 70 or more than 4 unadjusted rolls. No, F you. I already gave you dump last 2. Shut up. All right. Now, it doesn't say anywhere to run it down the line. So that means you can place these 8 stats wherever you like.
Yeah, and I think
kind of character you want to play.
Yeah.
Now, what I recommend is if you're going to play a physical character, do not be despondent because you don't have 3 or 4 70s to cover all of your physical stats. The easiest thing to do, the easiest stat adjustment in this game comes in skills for physical skills. And we're going to get to that when we get to the skills portion, but do not dismay. All right. You're going to be okay. It's going to be fine.
That's weird how we're different. Like, I don't like the idea of rolling 8 dice, but I would absolutely support this. But I'd make you reroll just everything. You'd be rerolling from scratch. You wouldn't just be rerolling. But you don't like this because you don't care if they have 70s. And I find that's, I don't know.
I don't care. I don't care if they do. Because like I said, in character creation, this isn't the end all be all of stats. It's not like where in second edition and earlier AD&D where you roll your stats and there's almost nothing later on in the character generation process that will change that besides your race. Almost nothing. But in this game, everyone can change their stats with skills.
Okay. Now, the point-based system is you get 135 chits, and believe it or not, I do like the fact they use the word chits because I've heard people in other games, and I know it might sound stupid, and those people are just dumb, whatever. When you start talking points and levels and so on and so forth, they get confused with other points and levels elsewhere. Completely whole different words. So when you're talking chits, you're talking specifically about character creation. Totally cool with that. You get 135 to buy for your 8 vital stats. So, and here is the point cost chart right here. So if you want to,
it is kind of like a curve. It's going up on. It's not quite exponential, but it's going up on a curve. So the higher stat you want, the more chits it's going to cost to buy. It's the same up to 50 because 50 is universal average. So it costs 1 point per 5
human average,
stat. And then after that, it starts not ballooning up, but it starts getting more expensive. First, now it costs 2 points instead of 1. Then it costs 3 points instead of 2. Then it costs 4 points. And actually 3 points is it. Yeah. And then it costs 3 points instead of 2. So it goes up from 1 point per 5 to 2 points per 5, then 3 points per 5 going toward 100.
I don't know if my wife let the cat in here or if she's been in here the whole time, but wife, if you're listening, if you didn't put her in here, come grab her because she probably wants to go out. You did put her in here, whatever. So moving on. Can you get your tail out of my microphone?
So are we going to roll stats or what?
Oh, I was saving these for the fickle finger of fate.
Okay. Now, there's I got to talk about those.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're going to get there.
All right, so you cannot distribute points in a manner that would cause a statistic, not a statistic, a statistic to exceed the species maximum.
Yes.
All
During the point allocation part, that is absolutely true. Yes.
Now, here's where things get fuzzy for me, because while I did read it, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't have the time to. Such a bad
now,
streamer.
the unified statistics table is a guide. This is a trick.
Okay.
Okay. This is a trick.
Does it say that somewhere, or
no? I pieced it together because I'm brilliant. This is the poor man's way of getting away from math, because every single one of these figured statistics, LEC, MEC, HEC, DA,
wow.
ACT, IM, Dodge, whatever, all that stuff, there is a formula to get the exact one. What you see here are approximations. Like if you have
Where's this formula?
A 60 agility, it says that you have a dodge of 15. But the range is 60 to 69. Your dodge is not actually 15 throughout that entire range. Later on, they give you the equation. You could have a 16, you could have a 14, you could have a 17, and still be in that 60 to 69 range.
Well, I'm guessing just 16 or 14, because 17's here.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I got you.
This is like, if you don't want to do the math, this is the poor man's version right there.
One of the, if I'm understanding correctly, one of the concepts of 7th edition, and it is a concept I approve of as long as it still has the same feel as the previous editions, was to make some things easier. One of the biggest complaints about Battlelords of the 23rd century was, oh my God, this has got to be the crunchiest game ever.
They've never played Hero System.
So fair, but there are a lot of complaints about Hero System too, especially when compared to GURPS.
And Hero says, I don't give a fuck. But they decided that, okay, if you don't want to do the math, then just use these.
I'm going to be upfront and tell you, I like this chart. Now, caveat, I haven't played, so I don't know. But I like the fact that there's a quick reference table that you can just look at and say, go. That doesn't mean I disagree with the formula. I'm saying I like this chart. Then again, I tend to like charts, so...
I understand. But the one good thing about this chart is, while it's not, all of the figure characteristics will not be exactly your figure characteristics. If you use this, there is a 2 out of 3 chance that you'll either be equal to or better than your actual figured characteristic, because there's only 3 options, right? Your actual is either a little bit lower, your actual is actually equal to this chart, or your actual is actually better. Those are 3 choices. And given each one seems to have the same range, 2 out of the 3 times you're going to be equal to or better using this chart than you will by using your actual statistic. I
agree with Indigo Dragon here, because I'm not as much of a champions person as you, but I do know the hero system.
Yes.
And the main caveat, I guess, maybe I didn't say it well enough, so I'll say it a little bit more specifically, is this combat system was very, very crunchy. It wasn't just character creation. It's pretty much all creation. Armor creation, character creation, it's everything to do with this game. It was always a formula. And while I wasn't against it, I understand why some people, especially new to the hobby, be like, man, this is too much spreadsheet and math. So the fact that they kept, from what I understand, because we'll scroll down below.
Well, no, we haven't. We're not doing combat today, so
I know
you can't really speak to that.
I have read through it a little bit, but yeah. But as far as even character creation goes, we've got, here's your more country, and I think this is what you're going to talk about in a moment, or something similar to that. But I like the idea that you can just reference something. If doing this, because slow down, because the comments we've received in our YouTube channel are pretty negative about this game, and I don't know how to handle that, because there's some things about 7th edition you've already heard me complain about, like why aren't the Mutsikans wearing robes? Why, just anyway. But if you're trying to keep the same game, I'm not saying make 3rd edition D&D compared to 2nd edition D&D, where it's literally an overhaul of the game. I'm saying if you're keeping the same core concepts of the game but simplifying them, I don't see that's a bad thing. And with those negative comments that we're getting on our YouTube channel, one of the things I'd like to say is, look, no. It's not as crunchy as it used to be. It's not as crunchy as it seems. Sure, there are a lot of numbers there, but they all fit into place. Here, look, there's a chart for you to just look at, vital statistic comparison. I mean, we read through these already when we went through the character
we went
creation.
through each species. This is just the exact same thing reprinted here for your benefit. That's all.
Right.
Yeah. So that's great. And then it gives a explanation of your base stat and the figured characteristics. And
I don't think we
inside these figured characteristics, it actually tells you if it has its own formula. If you don't want to use the chart, it'll give you the formula to get your own exact number.
Okay. I don't want to go through every one of these other than to say that strength exists, but there is an important thing under strength.
Yeah. Strength, you have a choice. You can go with a straight up D&D type +1, +2, +3, +4 modifier for all melee damage and just be done with it. Or you can use this more crunch rule, this optional rule, where it gives some leeway. Instead of having a flat bonus, you get a flat minus or a die roll for a bonus. So
I would use
this. Depends on if your form was right, if you had your right foot forward, if you bear down into it, whatever. Sometimes you don't swing 100% every time.
Or the person dodges a little better. Yep.
Yeah, if you want to simulate that, then you'd use this instead of the flat bonus or minus.
Yeah, this is me. Again, I like randomness in games. I don't like extreme randomness. I like within a window type randomness in games.
Yeah, this little chart right here for strength and optional damage adjustment, just when I look at it, the first thing comes to mind is Earth Dawn. Yeah, fair. This is a step chart. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, except for you don't have the D12. But but I also wanted to point out that Pythonians, hey, I said it right this time. They actually ×2.
Yes.
For the damage, if you remember the lizard people. So multipliers higher than ×2 exist. So you do not want to be punched by a Pythonian. No. Just always remember that.
No, you don't want that at all.
Then you have manual dexterity, which in the first episode, I forgot what MD was. I was thinking like mental dumbness or something. I don't know. But yeah, manual dexterity. This is how well you use your hands. And I do like these examples. I remember these in the old books, and I kind of surprised. They didn't do it here for strength, did they? No. But I guess maybe that isn't as necessary, and I can't remember if they're there. For
strength, the only thing they use strength for is how much you can lift and how much you can carry.
Yeah, I guess you don't need.
And of course, how much damage you do when you punch somebody or kick somebody. That's it. So there's no real chart like you punch like Bruce Lee or you punch like Mike Tyson. Both may do the same damage, but they get there in different ways. So comparing their strength is useless.
Fair.
Whatever.
Got your klutz. If you got really low down there, threading a needle will take days. Up to you can place a bullet through a pre-existing bullet hole. So this is all about just your general. It's not agility because that'll come later.
Expected of you.
Hand-eye coordination. That's what the word I was looking for. IQ. Now this affects matrix controllers.
Yes.
It obviously
more than anyone else. Yeah.
Yep. And why is that?
Because you're starting PowerPoints, which you spend kind of like mana, you spend to use these space magic, which is the matrices. The base is based on your IQ. It says right here, character starting PowerPoint value is equal to 10% of their IQ statistic rounded down. So if you have an IQ of 70, 10% of that would be 7. That's your base. Now you can get skills to increase that. There is a skill that increases your base PowerPoint maximum. So do not fret. You're fine. You're still okay. You can still be a viable character, especially if you're human, because humans get more skill points.
What I really like is that you know how there are modern sensibilities that don't like using terminology like this? You possess the same level of intellect as insects and rats. You could be a service dog. You can speak, but not in full sentences. The average ram python.
There you go.
Anyway, I put Einstein here at 90 to 99. Because remember, maximum human capability is 100.
Right. Now, here's the thing, though. Einstein is below capable of becoming an authority, which is like a recognized.
He was not an authority in physics at all, was he?
Yeah, not an authority in physics compared to the galaxy at large. Einstein was an authority in physics compared to Earth.
That's actually a very good distinction. No,
Yes.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because while we may hold him in reverence, the Mutzikins are like, oh, it's so cute.
Oh, he's a cute little dude. Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Like literally, the average Mutzikin is 100.
Is it 100? Is it plus
they get a
50?
plus 50 to IQ.
Okay. Yep.
The average one is smarter than Einstein, so he's not an authority in a galactic scale, and they're really pushing that home just with that. I thought that was subtle yet smart.
Well, I want to address Indigo Dragon. Indigo Dragon's got a bunch of comments. So I like it. I'm betting most of those who complain about this game have never played it and just prefer games that hold their hands so they don't have to think. I am, for once in my life, going to kind of backtrack and take a little bit more of a middle ground on this one, because that's kind of how I would normally say things too.
Mark the time and day.
Mark the time and day. Now, I think the amount of math or crunch would scare away a new player. They don't have any point of reference, or if it's a typical, say, rules light type player or D&D 5th edition type player, we're not talking your Pathfinder players. They'd probably look at this and say, or hero system players, so on and so forth. Be like, oh, whatevs. But they're used to having the game come to them within 5 minutes so they can just jump in the game ready to go. This is not that game. So I can absolutely understand a new player or somebody that doesn't have experience with a bunch of different systems looking at this and go, whoa, that's too much. However, I think a good game master could convince, or a group of friends where somebody has a little bit of experience with this, or at least has read through the book, could convince you like, no, it's not that bad. Just come on in. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit more crunch than what you're used to, but man, we'll get you through it. Don't worry about it. We're all here to help each other out. You need to make a roll. We're on it. We're gonna help you make those rolls. And within one session, you're gonna be making those rolls on your own.
Speaking of that, the book does not make the cardinal error of calling itself out for being too difficult. That's happened before.
Oh, like Champions?
Like Champions did. Now, it's not as hard as you think. If you have to say that, it's too hard. If you had to put that in your book, it's too hard. They don't put it in this book. So they don't think it's too hard for you.
Arms is talented for someone who didn't have a proper education. That's kind of how a Muskican might look at Einstein, yeah?
Right.
All right.
And then we have agility and Constitution.
Figures into your dodge.
Constitution is important because this is the base for your body points, basically your hit points. You can get right down to it.
And we've looked at a few of them. Was it the Chitillians and
Yes.
Matsians? Like they have like no hit points.
But you get your Constitution added on to it. A character cannot start the game with less than one body. No kidding. You add the value of the number of body points your character starts with the game, which is based on species, to this. Your character's Constitution, blah, blah, blah. Body points, your character's Constitution statistic also reflects your character's ability to deal with injury. And we go to, is there a thing? Death's Door? No. Seems it does that's the problem. It doesn't say add Constitution to your initial species roll to get your total body points.
I don't think you do.
If your character's Constitution drops below 0, they begin to die, losing 1 body point per hour, blah, blah, blah.
So
body points.
Right here.
Character's body
right here. It's in this chart.
Oh, it's in the chart. Okay. Where's the chart?
I scrolled up to 76.
76.
So body points -4, body points +11. Yeah. With, of course, 1 being the minimum.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
And your Death's Door obviously changes with it as well.
There we go.
That's how far below 0 you can go and still be revivable. Still be a hat box.
Yeah. Yeah, be a hat box. Yeah. So if you have an 80 Constitution, you get +4 to your body points added on to your species roll. With species, you get a number plus some kind of die added together. That's your base hit points. And then this is basically your Constitution modifier added on to that. And again, there is a way to increase all of this in skills. So do not despair yet again.
The one other thing is your ECR bonus. So your environmental conditions, those that are related to physicalness, come off your Constitution. So if I scroll up, because that's where the chart is, making everybody dizzy here. Cat, I don't need a freaking bath.
It's an ECR bonus and penalty, yes.
Yep, right there. So -10 up to +20.
Now remember, you still cannot go above or below your species minimum or maximum at this point. You're still not allowed.
Okay, where are we? Intuition. So intuition is different than IQ. Intuition is like your wisdom and 6-stat games.
And intuition and wisdom and hunches, stuff like that. I mean, it's explained better in skills.
Sure, but it's not just your learned capability. This is more your gut instinct and
gut instinct and
how gullible you are.
Yeah.
And what does it say for a high one? You can tell how an asteroid moving through your solar system affects the wobble of your planet. Well, that seems a little intellectual. What's down here? You don't realize when people are being sarcastic. That's a perfect.
Yeah, that is a good one. Yeah. Some of these charts are a little, these examples of the charts are a little bad. It gets worse later on.
Read 30 to 39.
I got to scroll back down.
I'll read it. The Fentari in the white van has some candy for me if I get in. Okay. Good one. All right. Aggression. Now, this is a stat that I don't remember all that well. So are you prepared for this one or should we read it?
Okay. No, it's fine.
Okay.
This is your aggression score is how predisposed you are to just raging out on somebody. Now, it's called Go Berserk. If you have an aggression stat that is over 80, you may go berserk and fly off into a violent rage when provoked. If your aggression is over 100, the character can go into a suicidal rage where they lack any concern for their own life and their safety as long as they can vent their anger through unbridled violence. Characters with low aggression scores tend to panic or flee when faced with danger or violence. Here's the thing. If your aggression ever drops to 0 or below because of drugs or damage or environmental elements or your Velma on Scooby-Doo or whatever, then you immediately panic and flee to your nearest known safe place.
Can you go catatonic?
If there is no safe place, you just crawl up in a little ball and rock back and forth. Yep.
What was it? The movie Predator? I'm going to have me some fun. Have me some fun.
But the thing is, you are going to stay in this state for 1D100 hours or until you pass out from dehydration or hunger.
Yeah, right there. First of all, I like it because it's a long range. You could look at it and just be, okay, I'm going to be like that for, like 3 hours. Chances are 50 hours. That's 4 days. Okay, I can't do math. That's 2 days. I don't know why I had 12 stuck in my head. That's 2 days.
Yeah, you're by the time you break out of it, you're gonna be pretty thirsty. If you hit 3 days, you might start dying. But that's the way it is. Now, if you go berserk or suicidal, these are just estimates. Actual value for your aggression score minus 80 and 100 respectively. Aggression is the only vital statistic where any species can exceed 100 regardless of stat bonuses.
So you can be a very, very aggressive Mutskin.
You can. It is possible.
Zenragellin.
There you go.
I don't know how you'd get him up that high, but
it's possible. Absolutely possible.
And then the final stat, charisma.
Charisma. That's right. It encompasses, just like old school D&D, it encompasses how good you look, how charming you are, your sense of humor, your presence. All of that is encompassed in this stat.
And I think they did a pretty good these examples explain that. So it says ugly, rude, right? It doesn't just say ugly. It says ugly, rude, and obnoxious barely cuts it. Wear a bag and don't talk. It's not just saying you're ugly. It's saying you're ugly and the words that come out of your mouth aren't what you think they are.
Right. So that's about it. And of course, later on when we get to skills, it'll differentiate between good looks and charm and persuasiveness because you'll have skills in it and it will increase your ability to succeed in those areas.
Now, I'm going to read this portion of it because I think this is important to all the versions of Battlelords.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about species preference. Anybody who watched the first episode, I know it's not on the YouTube video side of it, but on the stream, we kind of showed the chart of how the species relate to each other. Well, we'll spend a little bit more time on that today.
Yeah, that's going to become here in a minute.
Yeah. But so the Galactic Citizens Board has tried to iron out the differences between the many nations for years with little success. Think about it. The Eridani were chopping across the galaxy, doop-a-doop-a-doop, taking over planets, so on and so forth. Then they meet the Fentari and the Orion and almost get wiped out to the last. If it wasn't for the Mutsikins, the Eridani wouldn't exist anymore. A little bit of blood feud there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So trying to make them get along can be difficult. Only in the galactic forces where individuals are forced to get along with each other is there a basic homogenous liking for one another. I still don't think that's necessarily true.
Yeah, that's not liking for one another. It's kind of like you were all you all went through the however long basic training was. You all went through it together. You were all treated as equals. You were all broken down together. You were all built back up together. You at the very least respect the soldier to your left and to your right, because you know that you went through the same training, you have the same life experience in that regard, and you trust him to have your back in a fight because that's what he was trained to do.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with Heathen Dog, sort of.
Oh.
I think Heathen Dog gave a perfect 7th edition example.
Great.
And it's something, I want to point that out. I don't know how, I've been really thinking about this. Because you know how I kind of complained about how some of the races were rewritten and so forth, even if it's subtly
watered down.
Right. But if you remember, and if you don't, that's fine. I've talked to people about this game in the past, and one of my biggest complaints about the game was you can't really have a Fentari and Eridani in the same group. You can't have a Scissorak and a Python in the same group. So for as much as I'm mad that 7th edition watered that down, at least now...
They gave a reason for it.
Well, previously is like...
I mean, here.
Oh, right. You know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Here's the reason for it. But a Scissorak isn't going to respect a ram no matter what. A Scissorak's just going to send the ram to go out and play with bullets. You know, that's just, you know, it is what it is. Or is going to go scout on her own. So I get what it's trying to say, and I think it's an important distinction, and I'm glad it says it here. Because I think it's a necessity if you want to play the race class that you want to play. So I'm really torn on this one because I don't like how the descriptions were watered down in the racial descriptions. But that's why I wanted to read this out loud, where what this is saying is a necessity. So you know that even if it says dislike, you're all in the same military unit together. As Heathen Dog said, for 7th edition, you have to have this at least general respect that you're going to do your job.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If the Scissorak really hates that Ram Python and gets that Ram Python killed because it didn't like him, that's not just hurting the Scissorak later on in a fight. That's hurting the entire unit. We lost a strong combatant because of your personal bullshit.
I can see a Scissorak
trained out of you. That kind of thinking is trained out. Now,
not to a Fentari. No Fentari.
Bar fight? Yeah. Probably. Is there going to be some disciplinary action? Maybe. But during a mission, is there going to be that kind of racial infighting? No, because they were trained for the mission to come first.
I disagree when it comes to the Fentari. Not with you personally. I 100% hear what you're saying, but a Fentari is going to be a devious dick from day one, whatever. Unless
his survivability depends. He's been trained to know that his survivability depends on the people around him.
When
so
shit hits
the people around him to survive, he is more likely to survive and prosper.
Fair. But when, pardon me for curse, so when stuff hits the fan and everybody's escaping and the ship is trying to take off, this is the end of Aliens when Bishop comes back for Ripley, right? The Fentari is going to look down at the Eridani and go, and fly off. We'll get another one.
Yeah. I mean, no. In that point where you can just get away and be safe and screw everyone else over.
I think the Razit would do that also with the survivalists as they are.
Okay. All right. I get it. I mean,
but no. This point, I'm just going to say this again. Heathen Dog is right. I'm making points that were some of the things that were part of the previous editions, and this is why I have this dichotomy. Like, don't make these changes. These the reason the Scissorak and the Rams hate each other is because of how the first meeting went, and then how they each defeated each other. I mean, you treated the Scissoraks like cats. They fell for it, and Anyway, let's move on here. Yeah. So, in military and paramilitary organizations, your fellow soldier or merc becomes your brother or sister, regardless of species. However, Speciesism and prejudice are rampant throughout the Alliance. Thank you, Battlelords, for keeping this in the game. It's necessary. Cats and dogs see the world differently. Rams and Scissoraks are completely different species. They see the universe differently. There are going to be these problems until the arachnids come. In the past, many nations have warred with one another, and resentment still runs thick in the blood of the Alliance subjects. There you go. And then talks about the following table. So this is one of those things as a game master you need to balance out. Do you want to say that, oh, no, everybody gets along all great? I think you water down the game too much if you do that. But do you want to say, okay, if there's an Eridani, you can't have a Fentari? Well, now you're limiting the players and even some of the adventures you can have. It's something that you as the game master are going to have to look at, and I'm glad it is still in the game. Also glad to put these comments in there and say, hold up. Just because you dislike that race doesn't mean every time you see one, you have to shoot it.
Yeah. I mean, here's an example. Using what you did. There's a Ram Python and a Scissorak that's in the same unit. They're not on a mission, they're on leave. And the whole unit decided to go to a bar and, drink up and, toast the successful mission they just had. Great. The Ram Python draws the ire of a group of 3 civilian Scissorak in the corner. They start a fight. Now, does the Scissorak compatriot have to help him? No, not at all. Does he have to jump in and also try and beat this guy? It would be detrimental to the unity of the party to do that, but he can just do nothing and watch because he doesn't really like him. That is role playing the hatred, the dislike, not hatred, but dislike or suspicion between species. Even if you're in the same unit outside of the mission, you don't got to help this guy out. You can just sit back and drink your beer.
In a lot of military units, maybe that bond of blood between each other,
it all depends on how the players role play their specific unit cohesiveness.
Mm-hmm.
If for example, they went through basic training together, and the very first mission they went, they were stranded for 8 days, bunkered down, defending what seemingly was an endless horde of arachnids, and they were finally at the last moment evac'd out, and they all made it. They would have a much bigger bond than just some random sergeant and some random corporal put together into a new unit.
Imagine using your scenario. Imagine this. We'll just use what was that movie that everybody hates because it's not like the book? Evil Bug Planet. Starship Troopers. Yeah, Service to Citizenship. Imagine they're being overrun by those bugs later on in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, arachnids, and explosion goes off, half the wall falls down, the Scissorak falls on its side. All of a sudden, you just hear chittering and rattling and a little venom being shot and so on and so forth, and all of a sudden, all the Scissorak sees as she's laying on the ground is this big grinning face of a Ram Python. You're like, but you can hear the sizzles, the acid on the Ram Python's back. And then the chittering stops after some rounds. The Ram Python just gets up and walks away. And the only thing that she sees is a big ass, dumb, smiling face. But as soon as he turns around and runs away, you can just see the acidic hole burned in the back of that Ram Python's armor
that he took for the Scissorak.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, we'll move on here. Okay, so species. So when you create your character, the first thing you want to do is you want to determine your species. What do you want to play? Coincidentally, I have always in every game, even conventions, played a Scissorak, either because I chose to in the first game, or it's somehow at conventions I always get the Scissorak. So I don't care. I like this Scissorak. So anyway, I don't like mages. What's weird is I love mages. I don't like matrix controllers, and maybe you can explain that to me. The future episode when we talk about that stuff. Then determine your vital statistics, which we talked about today. Then your home planet and tech level. Now, the home planet species is listed along with the tech level of that world.
Yes.
By the way, this is where the editing of this book drives me crazy because this is a perfectly written sentence. The rest of this book, you'd see the word "there" here. This is right. Colony worlds may be of higher or usually lower tech level than the home world. So this will affect your equipment.
Yes.
Choose a name. They give examples there, but you know what? I don't know any game master goes, no, you can't have that name. That doesn't sound like a Mexican name. Imperial height conversions, you know, for Americans who want to play. I prefer the imperial system in daily life, but I prefer metric system for stuff like this simply because it's easy to divide by 10, but you know, your results may vary. I still don't, even though it makes literally the most sense in the world, I don't understand Celsius. I can't feel it. 0 freezing, 100 boiling. You can't get
Makes
more
perfect sense. Yes.
But if you tell me it's 23, I'm like, God, you know, I can't feel it. I can feel Fahrenheit. So hopefully that changes. But it's like, it's the one that I'm like, but I like it anyway. Size class. And hey, oh no, I thought that was the chart. No. Sometimes abbreviated as C gives approximation of the overall size and mass. But we talked about that in character creation. You can see that with the exception of their heads, the Chitillians are pretty short. Rams are obviously big, you know.
Yep.
And now we have the preference chart, which, like I said, some of you may have seen this before, but that wasn't on our YouTube video. Well, we're going to show it on the YouTube video now. So the example that was given up here is Mutzikans dislike Chitillians. But Chitillians are tolerant of Mutzikans. Well, let's take a look. So if we look at let's just start with the Chitillians since it's the first one. And how do they feel about Mutzikans? They tolerate them. So take Chitillian here, go down to Mutzikan there. You should know how to use a chart if you went through 3rd grade math. Yep. And here you go. And then if you look at it the other way, the Mutzikan here, well, the Chitillians, the first row, dislike. Interesting. So you can start to see who prefers whom. Who prefers the Fott? Enemy, tolerant. Oh, the scissor. Oh, probably the animal relationship. I don't know.
Maybe.
Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, a bunch of tolerant. But any preferred? Oh, the Orion. Go figure. The Orion are the only ones that prefer Fott. I think they do it as a joke. It's just fun to like the Fott.
But because the thing is, I think the Fott are wrong on this chart because they have no enmity toward anyone. They have dislike, mistrust, tolerant. The worst they have is dislike. They should have a couple of enmities at least. Everyone else does. Well, almost everyone else does.
I mean, I don't think that necessarily matters.
The Fott were genetically engineered to be dicks. All right. I'm sorry. They hate somebody.
But I think being general dick doesn't mean you have hatred. You're chaotic neutral. Like, you know, I don't hate you. Just I'm gonna mess with them because, you know, it's what we do. Get out of my way. I would say more that the Fott hate individuals, but they hate all individuals equally. As a race goes, yeah. What are we looking at here? Orions. Well, that's funny. So there's a mistrust from the Fott to the Orions, but the Orions actually like the Fott. Party time with the Fott. All right, let's move on. But this chart, again, if you do your race, you take a Zenrageln. And there's a Zazen Rageln in the game. Well, you can see how that works out. Size class kind of talks about how big you're going to be. And here's the chart. We'll spend a little moment on here. So there's the Matzian. Little tiny thing. Well, really, it could be bigger. It's a blob. What do you want? Yeah. Oh, the Keen are that small? I actually didn't realize the Keen were small. I knew the Mutzikans and Chitillians were. The Chitillians never look small to me the way they do the art.
No, the way they do the art, they seem like they're 6 feet tall. But
like this, I consider them like the Zenrageln. Like they're just really tall.
They're like 5 foot nothing.
Are they even? I think they're 4 foot nothing.
No. If you look at human, the top of their little I am from France cone head gets to the middle chest.
Well, 2 meters is just above 6 feet. So this is 6'6". 1 meter is 3'3". So 3 foot, that's about 4 feet. Well, I mean, maybe a little more than.
Yeah, a little more. 4.5.
This is probably a 5'9", 5'11" human. What is average height? I know it used to be 5'9". I don't know what it is anymore. Unless you're from Denmark, then it's 7'6". But anyway, the Orions are taller than humans just a touch. Oh, the bunny people. You know what? I never realized that. I never realized the Fott were bigger than humans. I should have known that. I just
don't
didn't.
care. They don't exist in any game I play in.
There you go. Scissor X, I knew were kind of big, but all right. So there you go. There's your size. Let's get on to real game mechanics now. Each species starts the game with a specified number of skill points. Was it like 90 for humans?
Yes.
And 50 for a lot of the races and 40 for some of the Matrix controllers?
Yep.
So remember, humans get a ton of skill points. The more skill points you have, the more skills you can typically purchase for your character. See the skills chapter. Okay. And we'll get to the skills chapter. And now here is apparently a change. You'll have to tell me if it's true or not because I didn't play a Matrix controller, but apparently Matrix controllers now use skill points to purchase their matrices, but in previous versions they didn't.
Okay, truthfully, I don't remember because I didn't put a lot of points into my Matrix powers. I put a lot of points into my sniper rifle.
Okay. Mutsukin sniper. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. It's funny as I remember so much more about the races of the game than the actual mechanics of the game. But okay, so somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a change for 7th edition. And if I'm wrong, well, let's just read what it says. Characters who are Matrix controllers must also spend their skill points to purchase matrices for their characters.
Yes.
Matrices cost 2 skill points each, regardless of energy bracket.
And energy bracket is the type of energy you can manipulate with your power.
Is it like a spell level?
No, it's more like a spell tree, where you go off this way, you're manipulating gravimetric forces. You go off this way, you're manipulating electrical forces. You go off this way, you're manipulating biological forces. It's kind of like a branching thing.
Okay.
Where you're not going to be really great at all things, but if you go down one branch all the way, you can be really great at one thing.
Okay. Characters may purchase matrices that are 1 level above their current energy bracket, but these cost twice as much.
Yeah, during the Matrix controller part, it'll explain what energy brackets are and stuff like that. So
okay, and that'll
it's not
probably
right now because no matter what your IQ is, it's not going to affect anything about your matrices until you get to skills anyway.
Okay, and that'll probably be something we cover in like 2 or 3 weeks because next week I think is all combat if I remember correctly.
Okay.
All right, so body points represent the total amount of damage a character's body can withstand. Now, Heathen Dog talked about this earlier. So body points,
you have your species base body points plus or minus your Constitution modifier. But in here, it brings up another stat related to body points, but for non-lethal damage, the temporary body points. Temporary body points are equal to your body points, but it's from non-lethal damage, like punches, kicks, certain kinds of drugs, certain kinds of chemical compounds that causes dizziness or vertigo or whatever. Stuff like that will come off of temporary body points. If your temporary body points go to 0, you are immediately stunned for 1d4 actions. I'm sorry, well, 1d4 rounds. Sorry.
Just out of curiosity, I know a lot of games do this, and I should know, but I don't. It says stunned or dazed. Are those different effects? Because they use 2 different terms there. Are those 2 different effects? 2
different terms, and we haven't gotten to combat yet. I haven't read it. So
okay.
I don't know if technically they mean something else.
All right. Fair enough.
If it's stunned or dazed, that means it's the decision of if they are functionally different, it's the decision of the game master.
So if they're functionally different, I like the way that's written. If they're not functionally different,
you should
use one term.
Terms that mean the same thing. I agree.
Right, yep.
I agree. Now, here's the thing. You can punch somebody to death. Once you get their temporary body points down to 0, then it starts eating into their actual body points. So in this case, you can think of temporary body points as
SDC,
buffer, as SDC if you know Palladium, or vitality versus hit points. Your temporary stuff is your vitality. Once your vitality goes down, then any damage goes directly to your actual hit points. It's the same thing here. Punches do temporary damage, healed much faster than regular damage.
You won't need a hat box.
Yeah, you're not gonna need a hat box. But if you take too much punching to the face, you will die. It just
wasn't there something that said that when Rams punch, it is real damage, or am I just
no? When Rams punch, they do double, which means that they will quickly eat through someone's temporary hit points.
Got it.
And then quickly eat through their actual hit points. So you'll end up punching half as much to get the same kill effect.
Don't get punched by a ram.
Good. That is a good plan.
All right, movement ratings. And I want to take a time out for a second.
Okay.
I hate a strong word. I've never been a fan of differing movement rates in games. And believe it or not, this stems from Earth Dawn. I won't go into all that, but whether it's speed from Palladium or movement rate here, or the different movement rates, those are more species oriented or race oriented, in Earth Dawn, so it wasn't such a big deal because it starts to necessitate battle mappery. It starts to necessitate the idea that hold on, I've got a movement rate of 3 yards more than that character, so I should actually be able to do this. And I do not like that in my games. Outside of that, I love movement stats. Again, another dichotomy for me where it's like I love the idea because look, Heathen Dog might be faster than me, might be slower than me. It's okay, I'll kneecap him. He won't be able to run after that. And it just makes sense that there's a difference. But when it comes to this whole thing, like, hold on, is he really this far or is he this far? That annoys the living crap out of me. And so I'm just going to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of movement rates. However, the way they're applied in this game make more sense than a lot of other ones. And pardon me for that. I'll let you move on to movement rates.
Well, since you said that, we have to answer Indigo Dragon's questions. What's wrong with battle maps? Inherently, nothing.
Right.
Nothing is wrong with battle maps inherently. It all depends on the style of the game master and the style of your table.
Right. I do not like.
He does not like battle maps unless it is a battle map only
Battletech, Warhammer. Yeah,
exactly. Unless it is required to play the game.
Let me use D&D.
Not required, then Max Layout is theater of the mind, just like I am. You have to imagine yourself in the room. Everything, it doesn't have to be exact to work.
Right.
But when you add in differing movement rates for differing actions and differing races on top of that, then the game master has to juggle too much in his head, and no one is exactly where they thought they were in their own minds, and it gets weird.
So let me use an example of D&D versus Earth Dawn, and I do this intentionally. I'm not talking about movement rates or whatever. One of the things that I can't stand in a Dungeons & Dragons game is like, okay, I have a fireball, right? And it goes 120 feet, right? Yes. Okay, I want to throw it 115 feet. Okay, count your squares. No. A baseball player can throw a baseball from the outfield to catcher because he can see the catcher and throw it there. But if you ask him without any lines or anything on the field to say, throw this 115 feet, he'll never hit it. That's a professional baseball player unless he's really lucky. So my point is, I don't like it when people do things like, now Heathen Dog knows this. Earth Dawn got around that.
Yeah, triangulation.
Yes, there's a spell in a supplement called Triangulate. And what it does is he casts the spell, and all of a sudden now he's got like, this is exactly from me to there to there to this. But it takes 2 rounds to cast it because you have, what was it? You have, I think, 1 thread or 2 threads for it.
It's 1 thread, but I always put it into Enhanced Matrix. So
fair. Right, then you can just cast, but it still takes 1 round then. So you're still not doing the other thing you wanted to do until afterward. So I hate the concept, like, I can move exactly 7 squares, place the fireball right here, and I'm going to be standing, the fireball ends 6 inches in front of me. I don't like that. To me, it ruins immersion and so forth. That's why I don't like battle maps. I like saying, okay, you move up to here, you move up to about there. If you throw that fireball, you might hit your ally. No, I'm going to put it right here. Well, then you might miss the enemy, roll a save. And this time we're going to save differently. You're going to save for half or none instead of full or half, things like that.
Actually, if you're trying to place a fireball into an empty space rather than to a target, I would use grenade rules. Sure.
Yeah. Right. It could go too far. I do that. Actually, I do that as well. Yeah. You could throw too far. You could throw too. I got to be careful because, I don't parse every little thing. That's just the point is, and Indigo's Dragon says, that makes sense. I get that. So yeah, that's all it is. It's just a different type of play. I'm not saying that people who play on battle maps are bad players and they shouldn't do it. I'm saying for
Some games
me,
require battle maps and are better for it.
And those tend to be games I stay away from. It's just not my thing, other than Battletech or Warhammer or games specifically made not really to be role-playing games, but to be miniature simulations.
Roll ROLL rather than ROLE.
Yeah. All right. So that's my point in that. And that's where I think movement rates start to cause an example. Because I remember even in Earth Dawn, it's like you've got somebody running away from the obsidian, because the obsidian is like boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's a big rock guy, right? But intention is like, okay, I know I move faster than the obsidian. I want to stay exactly 2 yards away from him so he can't melee, or 3 yards, so he can't melee attack me. But I'm going to tease him the entire time with taunt. And I'm just like, I'm by the rules, okay. Like,
you know what? I personally, nope, this is off topic. Never mind. That's Earth Dawn crap. We're sticking
sorry.
here. Okay,
Yeah, but yep, movement.
Okay, now your movement, if we go back up to the big chart, the cheater chart.
What page?
It's going to be 76 on the PDF.
Okay.
And we find where's movement.
I don't see movement.
There is no movement for this. Okay, movement is not determined by any stat. It is racially based only. Now, the only way to change your movement is by doing a special action. And you can use up all of your actions, and I think it's triple your movement. You can use up 1 or 2 of your actions and double your movement, something like that.
Oh, wait till we start figuring out how many actions people get per round.
Oh, God.
Because it can be, it can be a lot.
Here we go. Yeah. That a run, jump, fly. Run, number of meters per second a character can move using the normal mode of overland locomotion, jogging, crawling, slithering, whatever. If you're the goo guy,
the Matsian.
Yeah, whatever. When using run, speed, characters limited to overland movement. If the character makes a stat or skill check at that combat round, they suffer a snapshot penalty to those checks. A character can sprint, which triples their listed run speed by spending all actions to move their maximum speed. Okay, so you can use your run, you can run, and you get your full run speed, but all of your skill checks for that round that are after that running or during running are penalized.
Mm-hmm.
You can sprint, which is full out, balls to the wall, Usain Bolt action.
Wow.
But that's all you can do. That's it. It's all you can do. Jump is similar. You can get a running jump to jump more, but it takes actions. That's how it works. For gliding, I don't know how you could push a glide, but maybe there's a way.
Find an updraft, have somebody throw you.
Yeah, there you go. You can throw me.
Oh, there you go. The Matsian decides to turn itself into a glider. The ram picks it up, throws it like a paper airplane.
There you go. Boom.
I'm done now.
You get a glide bonus based on the ram python's strength modifier.
There you go.
There you go. Right off the bat, made the book better, just like that. Okay. If the character moves at the end of the combat round, they will not take a snapshot penalty for actions that occurred earlier. So if you're going to do something that is necessary, like set off this explosion to happen in 10 seconds, really good idea to do that roll first and then run.
Where are you? Oh, here it is, right at the end. Okay, right at the end.
Yeah. So anything you do before you start running does not get that snapshot penalty, which is, I think, a negative 20% to your skill check roll. No, negative 20% to attack, something else for skill check. But yeah, so as long as you run at the end of the round after your actions, there's no penalty. But of course, if you full on sprint, you don't get any actions anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then, of course, we go to sensory modifiers, vision, hearing, and smell. This is, whatever. It is.
I think the only thing to note is some species also have distance listed next to the vision modifier. Yeah. This indicates the maximum distance a species is capable of visually detecting a size class 4 creature. So,
yeah.
it's kind
of like how we do 20/20 vision. That is, reading something that is a certain size at 20 feet, like 20 inches at 20 feet or something like that. That's 20/20. If you can, some people can see better, some people can see worse. That's just the way it is.
Okay. Species abilities. And these are innate abilities that if you watch the first 2 episodes, you'll know what they were. We covered them pretty quickly for some of them, but still, you get that in the species chart review before this. The liabilities, species liabilities, same thing. Cultural skills and behaviors. This section summarizes learned behaviors, attitudes, and prejudices that are common to the vast majority of the species. It also includes cultural skills, which are not innate, but so commonplace that every member of the species would be expected to possess the listed skills. Stop.
A lot of player agency bitches are going to scream on this.
Yes. And I would tell you, if I'm running the game, you will have them.
Points. Yes, you must spend points in your own culture. You must spend points on this ceremonial dance because everyone in your tribe was taught this dance.
But I was a Fot raised by an Orion, and I didn't. No, shut up. You were not.
Sorry, buddy. You got to spend these points. That's how it works.
Yep.
And there's a problem with that later on with the tables that we'll get into when we get there.
Area of study that are so commonplace to the species, they are considered a defining trait, often conferring discounted skill. And I'm okay with that. Discounted skill purchase prices will be listed here. So any skills listed here are free and do not reduce the character starting skill points. Okay, well then. That if you didn't read this last sentence, you'd almost think like you had to pay for them. But no, they're free. So.
No, you could get screwed later on with the tables.
Okay. Environmental condition roll. Now these are the. I almost said
these are all your saving throws, basically.
Yeah. Used to be SMRs, now ECRs, and so this is how they're I can't talk acronymed, but biological. We're not going to go through them all, but biological, germ-based diseases. So this is if you're going into biowarfare and you're not wearing your mask.
Yeah. Germs and viruses and bacteria and all that good stuff.
This is your favorite one if you're a Mutzican.
Electricity.
And this is not your favorite one if you're a Fot. All right. Actions. Actions indicate the number of activities your character can perform in a combat round. This is detailed in the combat chapter, and I did look that over a little bit a couple weeks ago, and I have to read that again because I think every character can have between like 2 and 8. Like it's nuts.
I think it's usually on average between 2 and 4, but if you're a Ram Python, you get two more. It was a Scissorak or Ram Python. I forget which one. They get +2 actions.
Well, Scissorak gets I think +2 actions, but
they get a +2 on top of that.
But yeah, we'll definitely get to that in the combat section because this is where things start to get kind of confusing because it isn't done, say, like Champions where you have your phases. It's done in a more. I take all my actions now. Let me hold a couple type way. But anyway, encumbrance is a big deal in this game.
Yes, it is. Your armor, your weapons, your spare magazines, your med kit, all of them get added up. And to be encumbered, you just have to have in kilograms 10% or more of your strength attribute.
But to be fair, and this is because that angered me when I first saw that, but then this squares it away a little bit. Unencumbered receive a +2 bonus. Lightly encumbered or moderately suffer no penalty. So you're expected to wear some armor and be moderately encumbered.
Your movement's going to drop. But other than that, your penalty there's no penalty for initiative. There's no penalty to hit. It's just you're not going to move as fast. That's
right.
all.
So that I really wanted to make sure that got out there because it's like, what are you talking about? 10%? I can only wear my clothes, otherwise I'm encumbered. Well, encumbrance, they took care of that with the game. They expect you to be somewhat encumbered. So, and there's an example here. Anything you want to say on encumbrance, or should we move on?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Fine. Starting cash and social class. Every game's got equipment lists you buy. So of course the Orion has to have the crazy one. Like, I don't know, I'm either rich or I'm poor. Whatevs. Yeah. See the Mutzican. Mutzican. Oh, it's times 200. I was gonna say I would think that the Mutzican would start with more, but okay, it's times 200. So yeah, they start with more.
On average, that's going to be what? 10, 11.
Well, 1,000, right? No. Yeah, wouldn't that be 1,000 or 10,000? 10,000.
No, it would be 11,000.
11,000. Okay.
The average for 5d10.
It's one
5d10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Orion. Mutzican 5d10.
That's
so
much more than that.
That's the average of what is 50? Well, 50.
Nope. The average is going to be 55.
Yeah, because it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minimum. You're right. Average of 55. Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to be 55 times 200, and nobody can do stream math. So
That's I know, right? It's funny because as soon as I end a stream, I'm like, how did I even screwed it up earlier with the hours thing.
Yep.
So yeah, stream method. I never believed that until I started streaming. That is hilarious. What skins can never come from poverty status? Oh yeah, you can also roll your social class and even add to that money.
Yes. Add or subtract.
And these are things. Remember when we did a video on the central casting?
Yep.
These are the type of things that you would find in that. This is where central casting could be of a benefit when making your character.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
If you want to go that route.
It does not give you an option not to roll social class. You must roll starting cash and you must roll social class. Later on, they differentiate what you may roll and what you must roll. And they never say you may roll social class. They just say you roll social class. So you could like, oh, I got so much money, and then, oh crap, I got poverty minus half of it. You could do that. Because
I would probably roll this first, but I absolutely get what you're saying. Also, remember in Battlelords, rolling low is good. Rolling low is good. Okay, experience points. Well, you're pretty much starting the game with 0 XP, right? All right, we can move on now.
Yeah.
Unspent experience points. Okay.
Shut up.
Salary. Character contract. See, editing.
This is for after character creation. We don't care about it.
Yeah.
You don't have a job yet.
I still have to call it out. Editing, even though this is right. The character contracts himself out to the sponsor for a certain salary. There's even in the conversion book that talks about how to handle, because promotions are slower now. But the conversion book talks about how to handle promotions from playing 6th edition, we'll say, versus playing 7th edition. But this will be your salary. I mean, you get paid a monthly stipend. So yeah, this isn't necessarily I go on adventures. Could you do that? Sure. It's your game, your world. You do it how you want. But really, you're in the military. And did you get paid well in the military? The only thing you got was, hey, you got that great health benefit of, being forced to get every anthrax shot under the sun. And you know what? If it existed, they'd give you a hat box. I'm not going to let that go. A civilian probably wouldn't get that, but anyway. Yeah. Rank, all the Galactic Military Services, have rank. And remember, the Eridani set that up, so it's very hierarchical. Black marks. You just started your character, so I hope you have none.
Yeah, I hope you have no black marks.
We'll get to that, though.
I didn't see anything yet for
right here
options to start with black marks.
Right here.
Oh, no, wait, yeah, pickle finger.
We'll get to. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
You want to do it?
Here's where we go. Now, the character development. There are several tables which I'm going to roll on that are in the pages ahead, but only one of them is required. Only the fickle finger of fate is required to roll.
Wait, I was just showing required?
Nope, it's only one's required. Watch, I was just growing up.
You may roll once.
Last sentence. You may roll once on each I was just growing up table. You may.
So the way my game masters ran that is you had to roll on one. You could choose to roll on either.
You may roll once.
I'm going to make you roll.
Okay, but that's not what the book says. You're going against the rules of the book.
I want the developers to actually, because no, and here's the distinction. It was, and if my old game master is wrong, well, Steve, you were wrong. But he made us. You had to roll on one chart. You may or could choose to roll on it a second time.
Okay, that's not what it says.
Fair.
And then if you go to the occupation tables, players may also roll once on a single occupation table. That means you don't have to roll.
Right, and that's the way Steve ran it.
Right. But when you get to the fickle finger of fate, last sentence, players may choose to roll once or twice.
Then in that case, the way they worded here, you're right.
Those are your choices. Once or twice. Those are your choices. It is literally only one you have to roll. Everything else is player's choice.
Yep. So then maybe this was just a GM thing that Steve did because he wanted us all to have it or something. I don't know. But yeah, the way it's worded, I agree with you 100% because they specifically word this.
I'm going to roll it.
Oh, because, okay. Let me get the chart up. Okay, I was just growing up number 1. All right, roll that percentage.
All right, I'm rolling it. Here we come. We got a 90. That's bad. 2. That's bad.
92. You blew a mission badly, leading to several fatalities and a black. Well, there you go. You got the black mark. The black mark against your Eridani leader. Oh my God. He blames you for the incident, even though he should never have trusted you in the first place because you're a 0 level character.
Yeah.
An untrained soldier at the time
to hold the detonator.
He's coming for you.
Great. Thanks a lot, game. Let's roll number 2.
Okay, number 2. I was just growing up number 2.
Okay, we got 10, 18.
18. You are really good with computers. Trying to hide from the Eridani. I'm not here. VPN.
I don't exist.
All of your friends come to you for help. Take 3 levels of computer operation. There may be many
the
people that owe you one. Okay.
Here's the thing. These charts give you skills in 2 ways. Take and spend. When it says take, you just get 3 levels of whatever, 2 levels of whatever without spending anything, because that's the definition of taking.
Mm-hmm.
You're not giving anything for this. But there are some things you can roll that says you must spend.
Let me guess, those are the higher rolls.
No, there's one where the fickle finger of fate.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Where it says you must spend, and it's like in the teens or low 20s.
Well, what about this one that doesn't say either?
Which one is that? Number 46 to 48?
You are well versed in etiquette, 2 levels of etiquette skill.
2 levels of etiquette skill. It seems like you get it for free because it doesn't say you have to spend.
Okay.
It specifically says spend on some places.
Lunar owns Twitch. Thank you very much for following Legion of Myth.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Now, do you want to roll Matrix Controller just to show people?
Yeah, just to show people.
Okay.
I personally would play a human because skills are very powerful in this game, but let's find out.
Well, you played a Mutsukin before.
I did, and I regret it.
I feel 57. 57? You randomly get a weird visible aura around you when you generate. It only happens once a day, but you never know which matrix will trigger it.
Okay, that is either disastrous or meh.
Well,
it depends on the situation.
Let's see. Unlike some other games, this one, people are smart enough to know that if you're controlling a matrix, take you out first.
Yeah.
Because you have the potential capability, maybe not if you're standing on it, but you have the potential capability of putting a black hole in the middle of a planet.
Even if you're standing on it. If you want to be,
or you're the healer, or you're trying to get into my noodle up here. And either way, I don't like any of that. So if I see you glowing as you're like humming a matrix, all the snipers are on you. So I think that's pretty bad, but it only happens once a day. So you hope it happens early in the day when you're using your broom to sweep your room. Okay. Pirate and privateer occupation. There's some for that. There's spy and espionage agent.
No.
So let's
soldier.
roll.
Let's do soldier.
Yeah, let's do soldier. Okay.
Because 0.
Uh-oh.
Watch, it's gonna be 100. 6. No, it's 6.
Obtain training and swordsmanship at the famed Swintash School on the planet Eridani. See, that's what happened. So what happened was you were there. He shouldn't have trusted you, but he did because you had been trained in the school of Eridani arts. And you haven't had a chance to study Capo Ferro yet. Gain plus 10 to hit skill bonus with all edge weapons and increase your agility by 10. Man, this all, I like this. This
is coming together.
This is coming together. Okay.
All right. Now, here's the fickle hand of fate. Here we go.
You're going to do 2. You got to do 2.
I got to do 2.
Okay, for the stream, you got to do 2.
Let me see if I can find the one that screws you over.
Yes.
Fudge, I can't find it. Okay, I'll just roll.
Okay. So
70.
Okay. 70. All right, 70. Contracted a sexually transmitted disease that rots the body. Constitution is permanently lowered by 20. See, what happened was you were out late one night. That is why you held the detonator, because you're like, oh, my Jimmy, oh, my Jimmy, oh, my Jimmy.
I got the green drips.
I got the green drips. It does. Oh, my God, I did not change laundry detergent.
Let's roll again. 90.
Oh, come on.
7.
Okay, your fickle fingers hate you. The passenger liner you were traveling on was space jacked. A gun battle ensued when a marshal attempted to thwart the act. You were shot in the face by a F-20 blaster at point blank range. Reduce charisma by 50 points. You have no tongue and cannot speak. You now eat through a tube that sticks out the side of your face. Hey, but you're pretty good with using swords. And yes, I would make you keep this character. Why? Because these are things that you can do in this is a sci-fi game. This isn't a Dungeons & Dragons game. You can use these. First of all, you're going to have armor that's going to get you around some of this. You're going to have...
you're not going to get around minus 50 charisma. There's no getting around that.
Well, right, but you'll just, now I hope your character wasn't an Orion. I hope your character now is a Ram Python where that charisma doesn't matter, but...
yeah, I do
hungry
recommend choosing race until after you've actually rolled all this.
Can I choose to be somebody else now? What is 100? Bad. Victim of the red bubonic plague. Reduce all vital statistics except for aggression and intuition by 10 points.
That's actually better than 97.
I don't know.
Reduce everything by 10 or one thing by 50. Dude, I'll take everything by 10.
Yeah, but charisma is a dump stat for most people.
Jesus.
All right. Okay. So now we're going to go through skills. Now that is how to create a character. Now, let me be very clear about the skills section. We are not reading every single skill in the game. We're going to talk about how they're used and point out a couple of them, like the shape change ability that we kind of teased last week for the Matsians, right. And then anything else that Heathen Dog wants to talk about. So do you want to...
I have a problem with some of the rules on this.
Well, then awesome. Then I'm gonna kind of shut up for a moment. Shh, don't dare thank me. Don't you dare thank me. I'm gonna and just let you go, and I'll jump in where I feel I need to. Just tell me where I need to be as far as the book goes.
Well, no, you can go ahead and start at chapter 4.0. Just go ahead and do it because mine isn't until later.
Okay.
My problem with the skill system isn't until later.
So determining
more drink. So I'll be back.
Okay. So Battlelord uses the same game mechanic for determining a character's chance of success, whether that character is relying solely on the innate abilities or training. So vital statistics or skills, basically is roll percentile dice. All right. So the 150 rule, unless it's explicitly stated in a description, nothing can increase a character's statistic or skill beyond 150%. Good. Every skill uses one of your character's statistics, strength, manual dexterity, agility, etc., to determine the base chance of success. The statistic used by the skill is called the link stat, and a lot of games do this. Forbidden Lands does this. I mean, no, D&D doesn't use it. Earth Dawn uses it, so on and so forth. You have your attribute, and then you have your skill, mash them together, and you go forth. However, this game does it a little bit different mathematically. The engineering skills use the character's IQ, the acrobatic skill uses the character's agility, and so on. Yeah, the FOT will like him more now. I'm so sorry to hear about your Jimmy. I promise that I did not change detergent. Right, Noro? Right. If your character's link stat for a skill is high, your character is more likely to succeed because you're rolling under. Changing link stat. And I like this. I think this is a rule that should be baked into a bunch of different games because some people forget this. Now, good game masters already do this on their own, but in some instances, the game master may decide to let you use a different link stat than what is normally used for that skill. For example, when making a stealth and concealment check, the game master might allow you to substitute your IQ or even intuition rather than your agility if you're placing a camouflage net over a tank. I really wish that was just caked in writing into other games and not relying on game master experience and skill to do that. So love it. Thank you for putting that in there because I've had arguments with game masters for other games in the past where it's like, doesn't make sense to use dexterity there because I'm not doing anything dexterous. Well, it's a dex skill, so there you go. So good. As always, the GM will decide because GMs decide everything if you can substitute another stat. Skill levels. You can purchase up to 15 levels in most skills. More on how you do that later, right? And so here we go. Skill percentage. To determine, now this is the important part, to determine your chance of success with a skill, first find the link stat being used by the skill and divide it in half. If you remember when we were talking through some character classes or character races, I said, well, that's a 7.5% difference, blah, blah, blah. That's why I said it that way, because it's cut in half. So if you have a minus 15, Next, add 5% for every level of the skill you have. So if you have level 3 computers we saw earlier?
Yep.
Level 3 computers,
That'd
that's
be 15.
15%. So if your link stat is 60, cut that in half, that's 30. And then you have 15% because you have a rank 3 in it. That's 30 plus 15. You have a 45% chance, plus
You only
or
have to
minus.
do that math usually one time, and
Right.
then you just add 5% every time you get a skill level up to skill level 15. So
Right.
that's not hard. That's just one time and you're done.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that, because that is an important distinction when it comes to the math of the game, where it's like, oh my God, I have to do math. No, the game master has to do math, because the game master has to sit there and say, well, I think this is a little bit more difficult. So you've got your skill at 45%. You've already got it written on your character sheet as 45%, but I'm giving you a plus 10% bonus or a minus 15% penalty or something like that.
Situational modifiers are all up to the game master. It's raining, there's sleet, there's oil on the ground, you're on fire, whatever. It's going to affect.
You're just bitter because your pee-pee's on fire.
Yeah, a lot, like all the time.
So the example here, we'll just do another. And I'm if the Rosette has an IQ of 100 and 7 levels in engineer, you do the math on that. That's 50, right? Because you cut the IQ, the stat in half, so that's 50. 7 times 5 is 35, so 50 plus 35 is 85%.
You're probably going to make that roll.
Probably going to make that roll, yes, unless you're doing it
underwater
duress,
with one hand upside down,
or a burning pee-pee.
Or will you stop talking about that's private?
All Sorry. Right. All right. So making a skill check. First, GM will determine if there's a skill that applies to the task.
Okay, stop. This is my first problem.
Okay.
There are 2 different ways to make skill checks three different ways to make skill checks in this game. If you are untrained in the skill and the skill allows you to try it untrained, then it is half of the link stat.
So That's like it. Normal, just so it's as if a skill of 0%,
right? Yeah. Yep. And then there is, if you have the skill, which you've already gone over, half your link stat plus the skill percentages. Fine. Okay. There is a third. If there is no skill for this situation, it's no longer just half your link stat. It is the link stat.
So it's actually easier.
It's easier to do it. And the problem is, if we go down and we look at...
Can we wait till we get there so we go and order the book?
You can.
So that's a good tease by Heathen Dog right there, because we'll get to that.
It's going to be on book page 97.
Because 97? Oh, that goes back.
Book page.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so got it. Now, I was going to make a point there. I don't remember what it is. So anyway, you want to roll, and you want to roll under.
Yes.
No, I know what I was going to say. Now, I actually remember reading that, and it was one of those things that I wanted to get back to make sure I read it right. So the fact that bothered you and you just pointed that out, good, because I actually remember reading that and I'm like, wait, what? But I didn't read it well enough for me to say I get it. And that's why I had to go back to it, and I never did, because I'm a bad streamer. Critical success and failures. A roll of 0-1 is a critical success. Now, I want you... This isn't a 1 on a D20, which is 5%.
Yeah.
This is 1 on percentile dice. Game masters, please be cool to your players. If that player rolls a 1, give that person the world.
Yes.
To some degree.
I mean, it's literally a 1 in 100 shot. And it's a hole in one on a par 5, man. Come on. This is world breaking stuff here.
Why do you have to be mean to me, Baldahar?
So yes, if your player rolls a 1, man, have like a domino effect of soldiers just falling, like you hit this guy right in the gun, his gun turned and he accidentally shot through the head of 3 of the people that were standing next to him. And then the kickback knocked him out and he went down. You took out 4 people with 1 bullet. Good job. But conversely, your critical failures should be just as bad because they're just as unlikely.
Well, I want to make one caveat to that. And I only make this caveat because I don't like weapons. I can fire. I fired M16s, AK-47s, AK-74s, whatever, M9s down the line, right? Mm-hmm. I've never had one blow up on me. And I know I've fired more than 100 rounds.
And I've had them jam.
Yes. I've only had the M16 jam. I never had anything else jam.
Well, I've had an M16 A2 jam on me. I've never had an A1 jam on me. But an A2 has jammed on me, and the 9mm, the Beretta, never did.
Yeah, well,
But, yeah, clear the jam. You're fine. That is not a critical failure.
Right.
That is not the level of rolling 00 in this game.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just want to say that maybe because, again, I fired a lot of rounds because if you remember, I was more combat oriented, if you want to call it that, Air Force still. So I had to go to a lot of firearms training, and I have had the M16 jam on me. Don't remember if it was A1, A2. I did have the forward assist thing, so some weapons expert can tell me.
Okay, well, usually if you weren't in a combat unit, you were using the A2 because it didn't have fully automatic fire.
Okay. And this was before the GAU-5 and the M4s that they use now.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point being is I've definitely fired more than 100 rounds without a jamming. Now you can say, well, that was lucky rolls. No, it didn't jam actually all that often unless you dropped it or rub mud around it. The point that I'm making is yes, Heathen Dog's right. You want to make that critical mean something, not just, well, min damage, let's move on. No. You want it to mean something, but it doesn't mean that the player dies. Otherwise, nobody would get past engagement number 3 because by then they've rolled 100 dice and eventually that one is going to rear its ugly head. So be careful. Or zero. So you're right. What they say is double Zod here? No, double O. Double
I don't know what that means, but
double O.
Double lot is going to happen. It should not kill you, but it should severely disadvantage you.
Yes. Now, I can't remember. I think it was a convention game. I don't think it was Steve's game. But I'm pretty confident it's a convention game where the game master actually said, look, if you roll a 98-99, it's just a minor inconvenience. Double lot, we're going to have some fun. But he did it on the other side as well. If you roll an OT1, oh, dude, it's like Heathen Dog said. You just saved the day, won the world, got the princess, and nobody else had to do anything. Yeah. Exaggerating, of course.
Peach is in that castle.
Princess Peach is in the castle. But if you roll a 2 or a 3, he still gave you max damage and whatnot because he's like, look, the chance of rolling this are low. He did the same for the NPCs. So anyway, my point is there are things you can do. My fault. I should stick with the book. So moving on.
Yeah, we're sticking with the book though. Now it goes after that. It goes into unskilled checks. We already did that. It's the link stat, the base stat divided by 2, and that's it.
Excuse me.
Now there are skills that you cannot attempt untrained. Physician is one of them. Unless you are trained in the skill physician at least 1 point, you cannot attempt the physician skill. It requires too much training to just do it off the top of your head. But
this is annoying to me.
Throwing, jumping, climbing. No, anyone can attempt this stuff. Yeah.
But you're not an Olympic pole vaulter.
Yeah. You're not going to be great at it, but you can give it a shot. It's fine. And then there is opposed checks.
This I didn't like.
It's usually it's easier to round your roll to the nearest 10.
I didn't like that.
Okay, whatever. Your margin of success is determined by subtracting your die roll from your percentage chance to succeed minus any modifiers. This gets weird. When two characters are directly opposing each other, the character who succeeds in making their check by the greatest margin of success wins. That means it doesn't mean that I rolled the lowest number. No. It means if let's say John has an arm wrestling skill of 1. And he has a strength.
I beat myself.
Yeah. He has a strength of 50. So he got a skill of 55% in arm wrestling. Let's say I have a strength of 30.
No. I would have a skill of 30. Because it's link stat divided by 2.
Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right. 30. I have a strength of 40. But I have a skill rating of 15. So that's 20 for my base skill. And then again, math hard 35.
Yeah. Wait.
So 35.
Wait, you said a skill rank of 15?
Yeah, 15 times 5.
What's
50?
5 to
60.
No.
60? Okay, 60. So I actually have a 20 plus 60. I have an 80.
Mhm.
I roll a 60. I made it by 20.
Mhm.
John rolls a 10. How much did you make it by?
5? No, wait, what did I say it was? I forgot what my stats were.
25.
Okay.
Okay.
I
I would
forgot my
still win
stats were.
because I made it more. But if
Yes.
I rolled a 79 and he rolled a 20, we both succeeded, but he made it by 5. I only made it by 1. He would win. Even though I am by far the better technical arm wrestler. In this case,
So this does two things. This does two things. Or it puts two emphases on one thing. It doesn't just say you have to roll under. So let's make it a little bit easier. Let's make the scenario a little bit easier, or just use one number. If Heathen Dog needs to roll a 50 or less to succeed, and I need to roll a 25 or less to succeed, already has twice the chance of doing it, right?
Of succeeding, yes.
On top of that, it says that because he's more trained, because he's stronger, because he's whatever, he's got a higher chance of winning through the fact that it's got that variation there. Like if he makes his roll by 30, I have no chance outside of a critical because I have a maximum capability of 25.
Right.
So it gives him more opportunity to make that roll. It allows the character that is stronger and more skilled, or higher link stat and more skilled, to not be screwed over by the person that has no skill in it, like some games do. When it's just a D20 and, I've got like 10 skill slots in this, blah, blah, blah. If I roll a 19 or less, I win. If you roll a 15 or that's probably a little too exaggerated. If I roll a 15 or less, I succeed. If you roll a 12 or less, you succeed. I mean, there's still a high percentage in there that the person who shouldn't win wins. This one helps to nullify that.
Yeah, it's more realistic. Yeah, if you are more highly trained, you're gonna be better at a pose test than someone who is not highly trained. That's why each skill rank is 5%. That's a lot in skills because your link stat is halved.
I want to see where you were talking about. Did we pass it? Where we were talking about
the making a vital statistic check.
You said 97. Oh, okay. Okay, so we got a couple things to cover before we get there. First of all, avoid unnecessary checks. I like the fact that this is written into a bunch of games because I was guilty of this when I was younger, and I still see a lot of people guilty of this now. Like, it's a dex check to tie your shoes, so let's see if you do it. Shut up.
No.
No.
Here's the rule of thumb that they do in this game. If you are not under a time constraint and you have the skill, you win.
Time to perform the skill check.
Sorry, and you're not opposed.
Right. Basically,
you will just succeed.
If you are not under duress and time is not a factor, you're fine. I mean, time is kind of a form of duress. And a lot of games write that in there now because there was this thing is like, well, you got to roll horse riding to see if you can get up in the morning and get on your horse and make it the next village. No,
you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. If the tying your shoe thing is really good. If you want to tie your shoe and you're not going to be late, you can take all the time you want. Doesn't matter. You're going to get it. Okay. You're going to get it. It may take you an hour. You could be a freaking idiot, but you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Now, if you have to tie your shoe in 1 minute or someone's going to blow your head off, I'll make you roll. I'll make you roll that one. All right.
You tied them together. You run and
yeah, exactly. Whatever. Yeah. I make you roll that. All right. That's fine. But if it's a sunny day, there's no wind, it's a passenger plane, you just got to take off and land, I'm not going to make you roll pilot skill.
Right. Yeah. Routine. That's a perfect way of doing it. Routine things
with no modifiers and no duress. You're just going to make it as long as you're skilled. If you're unskilled at something, I'm going to make you roll every goddamn time because you are not trained. This does not come to you. You were not trained in it. You will have to roll even if you're not under duress and you have all the time in the world. But if you,
I usually make a yes/no determination at that point. Like, look, man, you're not a computer programmer. I don't care that you like me. I'm not a computer. I know I can read programming code for some language and so forth, but I'm not a programmer. I couldn't code my way out of a paper bag. So there's no
that in this game. They answer that in this game. There are skills that are marked with an asterisk.
Yes. Yep.
That requires you to be trained to even attempt. Those are the ones like that, like surgeon, computer programmer, psychologist, psychiatrist. Yep. You must have trained to even attempt.
Every D&D 5th edition player isn't a psychologist?
Everyone is not. No.
Oh, wow. All right. If you're GM, so let's get to the part where now Heathen Dog's going to have some fun. If your GM determines that no skill applies to this particular situation, then the character may attempt to complete the task using his raw physical or mental talent, or lack thereof. First, find the statistic being used to accomplish the task. GM's discretion, as always. Next, roll equal to or less than the value of your vital statistic on percentile dice. Not half of it.
There's the rub. There's the rub. Not half, the full thing. Are you punishing the book for not having every skill ever imaginable? No. Why make this? This is stupid. It should be just like doing something untrained. Half. Why make it this complicated? And if you scroll down a little bit, it gives an example.
Hold on, but before you do that, I want to think this through for a second. And I want you to clarify, because you read it better than I did.
Yep.
Is this the same as performing a skill that the game master just doesn't know how to incorporate into another skill? So hear me out. One more thing.
Okay.
Or is this a strict attribute check like we used to do in D&D, like make a strength check? Because if it's a strict attribute check, it really isn't related to skills at all. They just happen to use some poor wording here. Then I would say I'm good with this. If it's actually related to you could make a skill check with this, but you don't. I just don't know where to put it. I think that just means that the game master needs to find a skill to put it under. Yeah, and then I agree with you 100%. Does that make sense?
There is the under strength check right here. When a character is just trying to lift something heavy, the penalty applied to the strength check is determined by the object's weight. Consult the weight lift table and determine what penalty would apply to a strength check when lifting that amount of weight. Remember that Pythonians cut this modifier in half due to their ×2 strength multiplier.
Okay.
So there's already a weight chart and it's right there, lifting.
Fair enough.
And there is a penalty. Okay. So, and it goes up to -140. Well, guess what? You didn't have to do this. You could have kept it at 1/2 strength and just halved all these penalties and gotten to the same goddamn thing. You created a new mechanic for no reason whatsoever.
Now, this may have been a holdover from earlier editions. I don't know.
But it's a mechanic that doesn't need to be here. It's an extra bob or whistle or whatever that
I guess what I'm trying to get to, because I'm trying to look for the simplicity of this, is this literally just an attribute check? If it is just an attribute,
it is an attribute check that the game master cannot find a skill for.
Okay.
But the thing is, a lot of these things they're skills for. They're skills for.
I gotcha. So it's a catch. So it's a catch-all.
Yeah. But it shouldn't be here, because your catch-all should be, if there's no skill for it, guess what? Then you roll as if you're untrained in it.
Okay. My only caveat, I agree with you 100%. My only caveat to that is if it's a strict, I'm making a dex check, or a manual dexterity check, I'm making an intelligence check, whatever. I'm using different language. I get it. I'm using Dungeons and Dragons language. Then I agree with this rule. Outside of that, I agree with you. Does that caveat?
No.
Okay.
Because you're using the example of a dex check in D&D, like walking over a frozen lake.
Okay.
It's a dex check not to fall, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I think there's a balanced non-weapon proficiency somewhere. I don't know what the newer editions do, but yeah, go on.
Regular D&D, it would just be a dex check not to fall.
Okay.
Fine. Great. Thank you very much.
I was trying not to do that while you were talking, but I did anyway.
Now, what if there was a skill called balance?
Well, I'm sure there is.
Yeah. Guess what? That means you're rolling half dex if you're not trained in balance.
No, fair. I agree. I agree with you 100% on that.
What if the skill balance didn't exist in this book? Does that
then it'd be a dex check.
The fact, for some reason, it doubles your chance of succeeding at this.
Is there a skill in this book for common sense?
No.
And I say this specifically because I know you like to give people a common sense skill in certain games that you run.
I do.
So there's no skill for common sense, but I want somebody to roll an intellect check or intuition check to see, wait, hold on here. What you're about to do might be a little weird because the player might not know, but the character would certainly know that what you're about to do could be a bit more dangerous than you want. Since there is no skill for that, I could let the player roll an intuition check. I guess that's what I'm talking about with the attribute check versus.
See,
I don't disagree. Let's put it this way. I don't disagree with you.
I mean, just because there's no skill for it doesn't mean the player gets an automatic doubling of their chance to win.
Fair enough.
All right. It just means that you didn't want to make 1,000 skill list long. I get it, but it should be the same as if it was untrained.
Well, hey, my game that I'm writing only has 24 skills. 24 skills cover every literal thing that you can do in the game, and you will find somewhere to put it.
There you go. I mean, well, and plus the examples it gives. If you look, it gives examples for IQ. It gives examples for manual dexterity. The manual dexterity, trying to open a combination lock is for some reason, there it is for some reason a vital to guess what? It's lock picking, you dumbass. There's a skill for that. It's literally in the book.
Well, hold on.
Now it says opening a combination.
Yeah,
lock.
that's different than picking a lock.
You're right, but here's the rub.
But it's a bad example.
Stop. Here's the rub. If you are just opening a combination lock, it means you have the combination.
Yes.
Which means that given enough time, you will automatically succeed because you know the proper.
So trying to open a combination lock under duress.
Under duress. Well, guess what? That's gonna. I would give you a half percentage anyway because you're under duress. Oh God, I'm getting shot at. Oh God.
Okay. No. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I would handle it differently, but I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to find the rationale for this because
I don't think there is one.
Okay.
But besides, they want to punish the game master for not being creative enough to fit something into an existing skill.
Well, if you have played Battlelords of the 23rd century and/or are the developer of 7th edition, hey, tell us what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the vital statistic check is a completely unnecessary mechanic. If a skill does not exist in the game, just treat it as untrained. And then you take away some rules and you keep everything on the same playing field.
We lost 4 people through your rant.
Half link stat or 1/2 link stat plus skill. That's it. You made a third thing for no reason.
We lost 4 people with your rant. Good job. I was about to ask chat what chat thinks, but I don't think there's anybody left.
Yeah, everyone left like, oh God, he's being a dick. Well, I'm glad you left.
Wow. No. All right. Common statistic effects. We have created shorthand notations that detail the most common statistic checks. Wow, my eyes just went funny. Called statistic effects. Okay. The list of statistic effects below is not exhaustive. What are these things? I didn't read this apparently because this doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
You're gonna like it.
Okay. Effect name statistic at penalty. What is this? URI? Example, the notation topple, agility at -75, 1d6 BP. So it sounds like you're going to be knocked over. You roll agility at -75%, or you take 1d6 body points of damage. Did I get that right? Oh, wow. Okay. Would require that the character make an agility check to avoid being toppled. The check must be made as -75 penalty if it failed right there. Oh my God. The character would suffer 1d6. Okay.
1d6 body points of damage. You got it.
That seems pretty excessive. I feel like you're being pushed over by a ram at that point.
Oh, yeah, no. -75 to agility. What? Were you sleeping?
No. This is you were hit by a thwack'em stick.
No, I think this is you hit by a car.
Well, that's a thwack'em stick. Yeah. All right. So Hungry Ewok says he agrees with Heath. Let's get that on the screen. I'm not there. Can you put that on the screen? Let's see. Indigo Dragon. What? I was falling asleep. I'll side with Ethan.
A good plan. Always a good plan. And of course, Hungry Ewok agrees with me as well.
And Mahawkman says hog.
Says hog.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna say it's.
It agrees with you, right?
Yep.
It has the letter H in there. All right, so penalties. The penalty is the check modifier subtracted from your character's percentage chance, just like every other game. Instead of a -5, in this one you get a -20%, whatever, or 25%. I guess it would be in this, whatever. If the stat check penalty says -damn, then the penalty for the stat check is the amount of damage done in the initial attack. Okay, so if the penalty is listed as opposed, it means statistic check is opposed. Oh, we skipped opposed checks, didn't we?
No, we talked about it. It's
Okay.
it's not whether you make it, you have to make it more than the other guy.
Win. We talked about that actually in depth. Yeah. So okay. So where was I now? Okay, penalty. So we got that. So just it's like if you've got a 50% chance to succeed at something, it gives you the GM says you got -20% to this. Well, guess what? You now have a 30% chance of success. Common damage effects are loss of body points, lowering of statistics. You know what? You got frozen. Oh, actually, lower of ECRs. There you go. You got frozen. Reduction of move scores because again you were frozen, or you took actions, or you're encumbered. Your strength was reduced. Reduction.
Or you shot in the face and you got -50 looks. That's fine. Whatever.
Even before he started playing. Wow. God bless Traveler.
God bless Traveler indeed.
Stat or skill check penalties. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Your manual dexterity because the Eridani might not have got a clean hit on you, but he took off 3 of your fingers. Now your manual dexterity is down, at least for that hit. Delay. Sometimes a certain amount of time passed before the character feels the ill effects failing a stat check. Most stat checks do not have delayed listed. Okay, so if you drink a poison, it might take a minute or two for it to.
You won't know you failed your check until you double over in pain and start vomiting blood.
There you go. Duration indicates how long the ill effects will last. Characters will continue to suffer the listed damage for the duration listed. This is that poison as he's hunched over, vomiting himself out. He's taking damage every round. So an effect with a duration of 1d10 combat rounds is. I rolled a 0. So it's 10 combat rounds that he's going to be having flaming pee-pee. All right.
Yep, and might indicate damage is 1d10 con
per round.
With round indicating combat rounds.
So, and con being your constitution, which means that could be bad. Your constitution just keeps lowering and lowering and lowering. You're withering.
If your constitution goes below 0, we kind of skimmed over this, but in all of your statistics, if they get to 0 or below, it means you're out. You're either, if it's a mental stat, you're derping everywhere. If it's a physical stat, you can't move. But the con was special.
There is, there's another one that's special.
Below, you start losing body points. I'm going to scroll back up so I can read that.
Well, I can. You tell me what page it's on. I'll put it on here. We're at 102 right now.
But I don't know what page it's exactly on. I got to go back to.
Okay. Well, the other one isn't aggression. The other one, I thought aggression could go below 0 also.
Oh, aggression can go below 0. That's when you start fleeing. That's when you flee. We went over that.
He really needs to get that flaming pee-pee problem looked at. I know. Well,
will you stop it with that stuff?
Indigo Dragon said it. I'm just reading what he said.
I'm just reading what he said. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Strength. Why is strength first? Why is it in alphabetical order? That would be much better. Agility. Constitution. Here we go. If your character constitution drops to below 0, they begin to die, losing 1 body point per hour until they die or their constitution is increased to 0 or above. In everything else, you can go to negative and not die. You're just out. You're either curled up on the ground, you're falling over on the ground, or you're walking around in a perpetual daze. If it's a mental stat, even your charisma. If your charisma goes to 0 or below, you're walking around in a daze, derping your way around. You're effectively useless. Body is the only one, and that's on PDF page 79. Body is the only one where if it goes below 0, you start dying, and it's under. And it's just before body points, the paragraph before body points. If your character's constitution drops to 0, they are rendered unconscious. If it drops below 0, they begin to die. 1 body point per hour.
And it's like the Grim Reaper.
I got several hours, right? You got several hours unless you rolled really bad in the beginning.
Well, the Grim Reaper is just hovering over you.
You're hovering over you, right? No. That is the only one where below 0 can actually kill you. Everything else just takes you out of the game temporarily. All right.
Aggression checks. You talked about this a little bit, but we'll cover panic attacks. Attacks with this effect cause the target to panic and flee. Character subject to this attack must make an aggression check at the listed penalty. Failure indicates character flees. Unable to perform any actions. Okay, fear frozen, attacks with this effect. So again, these are rolled off of aggression. Agility or topple, that's kind of like old Earth Dawn's, was it wound balance? So you can see them here, drop. You could drop something. Strength checks, immobilize. I'm guessing this is like your stuns. Grapple, okay.
Yeah.
Your
like an arm hold or choke hold or whatever.
Or Medusa, what do you want?
Whatever.
Seize. Attacks with this effect result when the character or creature is actively restraining the target. Okay, so that's your grappling. Well, let me look back up here. Attacks with the passively restraining the target include glue. Okay, so immobilize is being glue. It's your hold spell, and seize is your I done gotcha.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right, got it. Good to know.
Check modifier. Sometimes your GM may decide he needs. See, look at that. You can't figure it out what you want to do. Needs to make your roll a little easier or more difficult based on the situation. The check modifiers below can be applied to both statistic checks and skill checks, referred to collectively. Okay. So you wants to make a check easier, can assign, can't figure it out. Can assign a bonus, which is noted at a positive number. Bonuses are positive numbers that are added to your skill percentage because you want to roll under. So if you've got a 50% chance, says you got 10% better, well, guess what? You now have a 60% chance, and you want to roll a 60 or less. Yep. So got it. And here,
this is all situational modifier type stuff.
Yep. And you don't have to exactly go by this chart, but it says modifier range plus 50 plus 25, average plus 25 minus 25. It's still average even if you give 10% bonus, but anybody can do this, right?
Yep.
So that's just shifting difficulty levels.
Yeah, that's it. That's if you want to make it a little more gritty or a little more like you want to say reward a good role player. This good role player is trying a challenging difficulty skill, but he's role played preparing himself to do this skill very well. It's like, okay, I got all of my tools in a row. I've got 3 people covering me. I made sure I have the proper lighting. Okay, well, instead of your base minus 80, I'll give you a minus 60 because you prepared. It gives the GM some wiggle room instead of a base. This is the default modifier for whatever this challenge.
To be fair, everybody out there who's probably watching this has already played in enough games to know that happens in every game at some point or another. But for those of you who haven't, it's just an easy way to say this is easier, this is harder based on the situation at hand.
Yeah. And if you prepare, the game master will understand that and give you some compensation.
I'll say may.
And may give you some compensation because this is an optional thing.
Yeah. Now, critical success
difficulty roll.
We already talked about critical successes and so forth. This just kind of makes it more into combat. If you roll a 1, you hit. I would say you do more than hit, but that's fine. Let's go with the book rule here. It says you hit. If it said apply max damage, okay? Yeah. If you roll a 1 when making an attack that requires target to make an ECR roll, the penalty for the roll is doubled. I would say screw that. That's me.
You're frozen solid. Whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Skill checks with weapons. Attack with weapon is simply. Do they talk about the range bands in this? Do you remember?
I don't know. I didn't read combat.
Okay. I hope not. Because I haven't read through that. I know what they are, but I don't want to talk stupidly, so I hope that's in the combat section. Attack with weapons is simply making a skill check using the proper weapon skill. Yeah, so unlike, say, games like Palladium, which has you roll D20 for attack rolls, but percentile for skill checks, this one, it's percentage across the board.
Yeah, it's a Chaosium. It's Call of Cthulhu. It's percentages everywhere.
Yep, percentages everywhere. So, and it still runs with the same concept. Half your vital statistic plus 5
plus your skill in the weapon you're using, which, by the way, must be trained. I'm sorry, not trained, but specialized. Like if you don't just have armed combat, you have to have polearm armed combat. You have to have sword armed combat, and you can only use sword with the skill. If you have a polearm and you don't have a skill in polearm, well, guess what? It's your dex divided in half. There you go. You have to use it untrained.
So
I highlight armed combat. It has to be specialized.
Understood. Okay. So I highlighted the range bracket thing because that's when things get funky, and I don't want to talk about that until we show you range brackets.
Okay.
Combat modifiers other than the aspect. The other aspect that's different when making skill checks with weapons are the check modifiers applied to skill check. Weapon skills do not usually utilize the default modifiers of easy, difficult, challenging, nearly impossible. However, there's nothing that will prevent a GM from applying those modifiers. Okay, I probably should have said that a little bit better. I apologize, because I'm the type of game master that I don't use things like this. I just say, you know what, I think that's a good minus 15. Or that's a plus 20 or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't want to go, hold on. It's I think this is now difficult, and the book says difficult should be minus 40.
Okay. Well, for new game masters, I like the fact they have the chart.
Agreed.
I also like the fact that right next to the base minus, there's the wiggle room minus.
Yes.
So, you have
I agree.
your new GM, you have your intermediate GM, and then you have your GM that's making all of his pluses and minuses on the fly.
And I'm going to say
that. I like that a lot. And if you're a new GM, let's say you're in combat and your gun jams, and you have to clear the jam. You are skilled in that weapon. That's going to be an average difficulty thing. I'm not going to give you minus. But what if it's raining? I'm going to up the difficulty level one time. Now it's minus whatever. If it's raining
minus 40,
you're bleeding in your eyes, that's going to be challenging. Now it's minus 80.
That might be a bit excessive for those two things, but your point is well taken.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. But and then later on, you'll go, okay, now I'll use the wiggle room thing. He wasn't bleeding that bad, or he's holding the wound, or someone else is holding the wound for him. I'll wiggle room it. I like that it has the beginner GM flat out, the wiggle room GM, and then it's all optional, which means you can just ignore it and give your own minuses.
And honestly, I agree with that. It's one of the things that, again, I don't remember enough about third and sixth edition to say that it was there or not. But whether it was there or not, I do like that this game, if it doesn't directly tell you like it does at some points, it indirectly provides exactly what Heathen Dog said. Here are your options. Me, like I said, just me personally, I would, okay, minus 10 for this, plus 5 for that. Yeah, you just roll with a minus 5 or whatever. That's how I like to do things. But this is here.
It fast. It keeps it simple. You don't have to look up charts. I get it.
So combat, the range bracket is added to your percentage chance to succeed. I think we're going to get into that now. And so the character's attacked with weapon, applicable check modifiers. Okay. Again, you can read the rules. We're just trying to give an overview here. We're really, we might not get to skills today. Observation checks.
We are probably gonna get to skills, but no, actually, no. It's coming up on 3:30.
What I'm scared of is that next week I don't really want to talk about a lot of the skills. The only one I want to talk about is the shape-shifting one. I think we can just show them, unless there's a specific skill in here you think is important to talk about, we can cover that. But I don't think we have enough for next week just to do skills.
I think we do because I want to go over the skills that directly increase stats. To show people not to worry if you get a low stat and I want to be a Scissorak warrior, but my agility is bullshit. Well, don't worry, friend. Skills are to the rescue.
Okay. Well, then guess what? We're teasing that for next week. Then I guess we will talk about skills next week. Because I don't want. This has been a long segment today. So today is just about character generation. So let's finish up character generation, observation checks. Though technically an observation check is simply an observation skill check. Intuition. It comes up enough in combat that we thought it deserves some extra attention. Before you can shoot something, you have to know it's there. Not everyone stands out in the middle of the street and shoots at you with a deafeningly loud machine gun. Similarly, if an opponent is going to attempt an ambush or surprise your character, you need to determine if the character noticed the ambush before it was sprung. How does the character do this? By making observation check. And it gives all your nice little modifiers, base numbers and modifiers here. Okay.
And the range bracket is how far away the danger you're trying to observe is from you.
So here's a question about this. Is this range bracket based on the weapon? Because weapons have range brackets, or
it's true. No. The observation check is based on what sense you're using to observe the danger.
Got it.
If you're using your eyes, it's the first one. If you're using your ears, it's the second one. If you're using smell, it's the third one. I believe that's the order they go in.
Vision, hearing, or smell,
and smell. So, So if a range bracket 1 is the closest, that's close range. You'll get a plus 50, plus 50, plus 30 because you got danger close. It's right there. You should observe it. So it's giving you a plus 50.
A Scissorak could determine the location of the machine gun by smell alone, even if she couldn't see or hear it.
Exactly, because Scissorak get what, plus 30, plus 40
Yeah.
to smell?
The thing, yeah, well, it's something like that. The thing is, what irks me, and pardon me for bringing this back up again, I did it like last week or the week before, is that Scissorak are supposed to be negatively affected by sound. So a loud sound like a gun should actually hurt the Scissorak's ears, and they took that out of 7th edition.
Enough.
Yeah.
A gun that is close enough. Like
no. I know. I'm not sure. I'm not arguing with this example. I'm just saying that loud noises, they took that out. Loud noises are supposed to hurt the Scissorak.
Okay. Then you know what? If you want to play your game your way, you would say that a Scissorak would never use a low-tech combustion weapon because it's too damn loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You could do that. But yeah, it gives you the range, vision, hearing, and smell. It's right there. VHS. Duh. Vision, hearing, and smell. So you get bonuses or minuses depending on how far away the danger you're trying to observe is. If you have a sniper up on a clock tower, he's at range bracket 5. You got a base minus 60, minus 90. Plus the GM is going to take account that he's under cover, or at least partial cover. That's going to give you more minus. So you're just going to walk into that trap and you're going to get shot. That's how snipers work, man.
Well, and it's perfect point. If you're walking into a brawl, you got a pretty good idea that
this is going to happen.
Yeah,
shit's going down. But you know, if you're walking into a college, nope, not doing that. If you're walking into a park and do tra-la-la, you know, you got your ice cream, and then suddenly from a rooftop 500 meters away,
Texas A&M Marine sniper is
yeah, you know, then you didn't see it coming. Well, guess what? That's because you were minus 120 to everything. That's why you didn't see it coming.
I mean, think about how many buildings and obstacles and trees and so forth you would have to consider at range bracket 8 for you to sniff out that sniper. Yeah. Barring actually being in mout combat, that's MOUT combat, you probably don't even suspect it's going to happen.
Yeah, you have no idea. You have no idea it's coming.
All right. Okay, well, I guess that is it for today. We have gone through, other than the purchase. Well, hold on. Skill descriptions. Yeah, let's talk about the purchasing of skills. Starting with purchasing? Okay,
yeah,
we can do that.
Start with purchasing. Yeah, next
week. We know how skill points work, but we will start with that next week because I think it'll be a good segue. I think Heathen Dog's right on that one. Be a good segue into the skill descriptions and so forth.
Because we have to get in depth into 3 different kinds of skills. What we're going to get in depth into is the matrix skills, because they are special. We're going to get in depth, and the one you wanted to get into, which was
shape change, the Amatsian shape change,
the shape change skill,
because it's a page and a half.
Exactly. And then all of the skills that directly affect your vital statistics, because this is the only place in character generation where you can make up for either bad rolls or for maybe you had to move stuff around in the point allocation that you don't like so much anymore. Mm-hmm. Well, you can make up those shortfalls in skills with some specific skill choices. You can shore up these weaknesses.
All right. Excellent. Well, so I'll put it up. I'll let you read chat for a second so I can go subscribe.
Yeah.
I need Garthon to scream subscribe at me one time.
God damn it, Indigo.
He posted that a while ago. So yeah, please subscribe if you like these overviews. I've been getting some very negative comments, and I really wish that wasn't happening. I don't care if you're negative about what we're doing, but negative about the game for I'd never play this game. It's this, that, next thing. Okay, I get it. How would you improve it then? But you know, the races in the game. We only talked about the races.
I already gave my comment. Yep. Get rid of the vital statistic if there is no skill check. Just have it be untrained.
And you know what's awesome about that?
My comment in the game. What's yours? What do you think about it?
Heathen Dog's game, Heathen Dog's rules. He's just homebrewed his game. That's awesome. Yeah. Or house ruled his game.
It. There you go. Am I right? Am I wrong? In your opinion? Well, throw it in chat or throw it in comments below. It's fine.
I guess what I'm trying to say is if you've never played it before. No. I do not believe that if you've never played it, you don't get to talk. That's BS.
No, that's dumb.
But the game isn't as difficult, and I think 7th edition has done a lot of good. Yes, the first 2 episodes I complained a lot about it because I don't like the changes to the races. I talked about that earlier here, but I think 7th edition has done a pretty decent job.
Some of the processes. Yeah.
And if they were in earlier editions, well, that's fine. I just remembered that this game was sometimes clunky. Difficult. There you go, clunky. And I think that they tried to keep the game the way it was, while still making it easy. And he pointed that out a bunch of times, like, you've got this option, this option, this option. It might not be blatantly in your face, but you can do the easy mode, the hard mode, or easy mode, medium mode, and hard mode, however you want to do it. So, all right, let me get that off the screen. And get ready for...
Nope, we are going to shill some White Chester.
Yeah, well, we're going to shill a lot of things. I just got to get them on the screen. Give me a minute, man. Don't rush me. So yeah, whatever you think, go ahead and post it into comments. I would say give the game a try. There are quick start rules, and I didn't link it, but if you go to Drive-Thru RPG, there are quick start rules for Battlelords of the 23rd Century you can check out.
And it's free, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
Conversion rules from the previous editions. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, this is my favorite game ever. I'm so glad we're doing this game. But I'm also not going to poo-poo it. I think it is what it is. If you're the type of person who likes Stars Without Number, if you're like the person who likes Starfinder, if you like Traveler, you may or may not like this one, but
this is more than not. You'll probably enjoy it.
But it's another tool in your repertoire. I think that's what you like to say, right? Another tool in your wheelhouse, or whatever it is you.
Tool in my toolbox.
Yeah.
But so far, I really like the way this game has handled humans.
Oh, with the million skill points, yeah.
Lots more skill points. Not like huge amounts more skill points, but significantly more skill points than any other classes. And skills are really, really important in this game because, untrained skill check is half of your link stat. So that the skills become much more important. So humans will still be able to hold their own against the super strong Ram Python or the super fast Scissorak or the super smart Motzchin or whatever, because they have all these skills, and skill ranks are more important than abilities than ability.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. And you actually end up being a more well-rounded and better character. And
which is so perfect for when it comes to every trope of the fantasy trope, even of humans are the diverse species. The other ones have their roles and their tropes and their stereotypes and their biological essentialism the way it's supposed to be. So, all right. Okay, I think that ends segment 1. I am ready for segment 2.